Welcome to the Rural Recharge, a podcast of the Florida Farm Bureau Federation. Rural Recharge is a guided conversation that allows you to cut through the noise and multitude of information out there. You should be able to trust your sources, which is why we're a platform that comes straight from the source, the farmers and ranchers growing what we eat, wear, and use every day. We're excited to have another dual guest on this month's episode of Rural Recharge. May is Beef Month, and resident Florida beef expert Deanne Maples is with us today, as well as the 2023-24 Florida Cattlemen's Association sweetheart, Whitnie Yoder. Ms. Maples has an impressive career spanning agriculture, marketing, and communications. Before becoming executive director of the Florida Beef Council, she was a publicist for SeaWorld and Anheuser-Busch. Ms. Maples orchestrated a groundbreaking promotional partnership between beef, It's What's for Dinner, and NASCAR as a promotion at Daytona International Speedway. We look forward to hearing more about that event. Ms. Yoder grew up on her family's third-generation working ranch in Alpha, Florida. She is a junior at Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College, where she is pursuing a degree in agricultural communication, and already putting that degree to work with agriculture and lifestyle photography. Ms. Yoder's title as Florida Cattlemen's Association sweetheart has given her an eventful year representing Florida cattlemen across the state. Welcome. Thank y'all for being here today.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
We're excited to be here.
Well, thank y'all
it's a
for
pleasure.
making time. Ms. Maples, to get us started, could you share with us your background story about how you got to where you are now as the Executive Director of Florida Beef Council?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I come from the little town of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, born, raised, and still reside in our small town there.
A Barracuda?
I'm a Barracuda. That's right. That's right. We are, funny story, known as the shark bite capital of the world. Kind of a neat little claim to fame there. Not the cattle capital of the world, but we are the shark bite capital. And we are a rural coastal town, if you can sort of imagine that. At one point, we were known for our cabbage growing, and we still do in Volusia County have a nice herd of cattle there across the county. I grew up in 4-H and FFA, had wonderful ag teachers who really played a huge role in my life, but also, through my grandfather was at one point, did dairy cows and row cropped in central Michigan. And so I spent a lot of my summers up there with my family. Believe it or not, I have a lot of Amish and Mennonite heritage up there. And yeah. And so I spent summers up there with those folks, and they grew sugar beets, all kinds of things. And so I really was exposed to agriculture and developed a love for it early on, and knew that that was something that spoke to my heart.
Well, very good. Now, Whitnie, we'd like to hear kind of some of the same thing from you, your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said earlier, I grew up in the Panhandle in Alpha. I'm from Calhoun County, but most of my titles and things like that, a lot of my 4-H and FFA was in Jackson County, the county just north. So similar to Miss Deanne, I grew up very rurally. The town closest to us has a population of 503, so a very small town. And so I'm very proud to be from a rural area. I really enjoy it and appreciate the lifestyle that we came from. So growing up, my dad had our third generation farm. We just had row crops, peanuts, cotton, soybeans, all the above, and then cows on the side. And in 2017, we grew our last crop of peanuts, and now we're just cattle. And I love the ranching lifestyle. I love that we can have that as our heritage, and I just love that part of our life. But also, so growing up on the farm gave me a deep love for agriculture, Florida agriculture specifically in the Panhandle. And I grew up in the 4-H and the FFA and showed cattle across the Southeast. I did pretty much all the events 4-H and FFA could offer, and I loved it. It kept me busy. That's how I stayed out of trouble, I think. Just being as involved as I can. And I tell people now that I'm older that I attribute the majority of my leadership skills and a lot of my life skills to those youth agriculture organizations. 4-H taught me how to speak publicly. Showing cattle taught me how to lose gracefully, and just so many things that I take into the real world today, in college and work. I learned through 4-H and FFA. So that's a little bit of how I got started in agriculture, and it's why I'm continuing in it, and that's why I want to pursue it, because it is who I am today. So.
Well, you're continuing your education at ABAC. Tell us how you ended up at ABAC. Why did you choose ABAC?
Yes. So ABAC, Abraham Baldwin Agriculture College, I knew I wanted to stay in agriculture. Once I graduated high school, I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to stay in ag, but I didn't know how a young woman in ag could make it. So I stayed at home and did core classes at our junior college. And about halfway through my freshman year, I knew that I wanted to pursue agriculture in college. And so I made plans to transfer to ABAC. And when looking at the degree options and knowing my creative personality, my artistic side, my love for photography, combining that with agriculture resulted in pursuing agriculture communications. It just kind of combines both my passions of creativity and agriculture. And so I pursued that, and I dove in feet first, and I love it. I love the AgCom program at ABAC. It's excellent. I love my classes and the professors, and it seems to be going pretty good. So,
well, very good.
Yes.
So May is Beef Month, and last episode we heard from Pat Durden, and who raises beef cattle, and your jobs are promoting that product, the beef product. Can you tell us a little bit about what promoting beef looks like for each of you? Ms. Maples, you want to start?
Sure. So I love that you just featured our Florida Cattlemen's president, Pat Durden, on the show, because we can kind of pick up where he left off. And, the Beef Council's mission is really, we serve as the promotion and marketing arm for the beef industry in our state. And as you can imagine, with 23 million residents, that's a pretty big task. And we have a very small staff. And by very small, I mean me, pretty much. So, but we have a huge group of consumers to speak to. And so when I really think about where we focus our beef checkoff work, and I'm sorry, we're funded by the beef checkoff, but the work of the beef checkoff, how we invest those funds in our state, we look at a few core areas. We look at food service and culinary for obvious reasons. 23 million residents, 140 million tourists that visit Florida a year. We want those folks to come enjoy a great meal here, go home having enjoyed a great beef experience. And so we feel like we have an obligation to the rest of the industry to really do right by them when those folks are here. So food service and culinary is huge for us. Also, nutrition. Our demographic of residents here really go from newborn to retirees. And so we have a huge group of people we need to speak to. And we work a lot with sports nutrition, registered dietitians, physicians, to help share with them not just the positive attributes about beef, which we know, we've done the research and we have that to share with them, but also to make sure that they're well-versed, that they have our latest research, that we've gotten them out to a farm or a ranch to really see beef production, because we know that's such a huge part of our messaging right now. And then we look at a lot of consumer-facing events. How can we get out in front of those 23 million people and share the story of beef? And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention in Florida the whole environmental sustainability aspect of what we do here. I think in terms of that sustainability topic, the beef industry really has the heritage to tell that story. And so we want so many of these new residents coming to Florida to hear about our 500-year heritage and how important it is to be in support of the beef industry, even if you're not eating the product every day. Look at all the great things we provide. So that's how we really do the bulk of our work. We're funded by the Beef Checkoff, which is a program that says every time cattle sell, $1 comes back to our council. We keep part of that money for beef promotion. And I think we do a tremendous job getting the beef message out around our state. But we do rely on our young people too, like Whitnie serving as the Cattlemen's sweetheart this year to help us tell that story to her demographic as well.
Explain just a little bit more in depth on the beef checkoff, what it is and how it's paid for. I mean, you said $1, and maybe some people don't understand what beef checkoff is.
Yeah, I'd love to. I don't think people, a lot of times I run into people and they think that we must collect a royalty or something every time a package of beef sells at the grocery store. And I wish it were that way, but it's not. And so when in terms of marketing, we know a lot of big companies, they hire a marketing staff, but who's going to do that for a farmer or a rancher? Who has to the time to leave their operation. So back in the mid-'80s through the U.S. Farm Bill, the beef checkoff was put in place, and it is a producer-funded program that really drives the marketing for the industry. And it says that every time a bovine animal is transacted, $1 from that sale price will come back to the state in which the animal resided at the time of the sale. And in the case of Florida, that's $1. And I'll tell you something, a side note, that dollar has remained the same since 1985, which is a challenge when you think about it, 40 years later. But we retain 50 cents of that dollar, and we send 50 to a national office, and they fund some national programs, money that goes to, say, groups like U.S. Meat Export Federation or North American Meat Institute. And then the 50 cents that stays here in the state, we have to be really creative on. We don't sell off the bulk of our cow herd, so we don't take in a huge amount of checkoff dollars. So we, then through the board, we have a board of directors that helps guide the expenditure of our money, and it's made up of producers from around the state. We have 13 voting members, and then we also have representative of allied groups. In fact, Florida Farm Bureau has a member that sits on the board that helps to determine how best to invest the producer's dollar.
Very good. Well, thank you for that explanation, because it is imperative that we can produce, but you need to market.
Absolutely. We won't have a place in the marketplace without doing it. And I think when you look at the work of the checkoff historically, I mean, really, it's worth celebrating. We've done tremendous things with that dollar.
Whitnie, tell us a little bit about promotion from the Cattlemen Sweetheart side.
Yes, absolutely. So I feel very blessed to be given this position, because I do have that passion for advocating for beef specifically and agriculture. And there's so much you can do as a person, but then being given this position as a sweetheart, it's just a very practical way to promote. Through the events that I'm going to, through the people that I interact with, and also through the social media channels that I've been given. So specifically through social media, we have the FCA Sweetheart page on Facebook and Instagram, and I share just so much about the Florida beef industry specifically, through just facts about the beef industry, facts about nutrition on beef, recipes, all of the above that you could think of. If you have any questions, we want you to be able to find those answers there. And then also direct consumers and producers to other entities that would also be able to answer those questions. So that's one aspect. And then also through my passion of photography and sharing the lifestyle of the Florida cattle industry, the Florida cattle ranching, not just the beef, the product, but how we get it from pasture to plate. And so I really enjoy just sharing the stories of farmers and ranchers around the state and how we actually get what we're eating today and how it got there. So, yes.
Well, very good. Now, part of that promotion, Ms. Maples, you have a NASCAR partnership with Beef, It's What's for Dinner, and it's become a very big opportunity to promote the healthy, sustainable, and affordable product that Florida ranchers raise. What can you tell us about that process, its inception, and now what maybe some of the results that come from it?
Yeah, there's a funny story about how the race came to be. At least I think it's kind of funny. Yeah. So, in COVID, that was such a different world. Mm-hmm. And looking for new ways to promote beef, right? When we all kind of came to a screeching halt, like, what do we do next? Yeah. We had never been faced with that before. And so I have sort of a past relationship with the sport back to my days with SeaWorld. Mm-hmm. And so I know a bit about it. And I've also grown up, I almost say, in the shadow of the racetrack and have been a lifelong NASCAR fan. It was something my granddad and I did. And so I know that sport pretty well. Yeah. And during the time of COVID, looking for a new way to share beef, we launched this race day recipes campaign for like 6 weeks. NASCAR was the first sport to come back to the track, if you will, to come back and get back to racing. And so how do we connect with those fans? And I already knew that the NASCAR fan was incredibly brand loyal. Their numbers are like no other. It's like 4 out of 5 fans are really loyal to the products that support their sport. Mm-hmm. And of course, NASCAR is a food-centric event. You're tailgating, all of these things. And so race day recipes for us was a pretty cool opportunity. We launched 6 things in 6 weeks, and we saw great numbers. And so one night I'm sitting in Daytona for supper with a friend, a colleague at Daytona International Speedway, Mark, and we're sitting there looking at the numbers from the race day recipes, and he said, "Hey, we have a race open, a race sponsorship. And I said, boy, I don't know what kind of money you think we have in the beef industry, but our pockets aren't that deep. Mm-hmm. And it sounds cheesy, but I sat looking at the racetrack that night, lit up beautifully, Daytona International Speedway lit up, and I got to thinking to myself, why not us? Mm-hmm. Why not? Mm-hmm. I mean, you see big sports partnerships with other brands. Why shouldn't we be there? I mean, our producers have a product to be proud of, and we have a brand, and that brand that they own is the Beef It's What's for Dinner brand. Yeah. And so I turned back and said, how much money are we talking about? And this is where, I say the funny story. Well, he threw out a number, and we had a little talk and back and forth about it. And the next thing you know, I've grabbed a napkin off the table there at the barbecue restaurant. And I said, well, could we have this? Could we do this? And so I laughed. We planned this race on a napkin at a barbecue restaurant.
Sure. The best way.
Yeah, right, like a great old country song or something. And I still have the napkins. But, that was in 2020. Our first race was in 2021. It was COVID, so there was some things in place. But for us, it was just an amazing opportunity also, to connect with the fan, to get the digital marketing out of it, and then to put the brand back on national television for the first time in more than 20 years. And connect with those, those drivers too, who are also athletes and having high protein diets. So over the 2021 and 2022 and 2023 race year, we amassed billions upon billions of impressions and the opportunity to connect with 250,000 fans there every year. It was just something that we're really, really proud of.
Well, thank you, and congratulations. That's an exciting thing, a very big part of what you've done and are doing and continue to do. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, Whitnie, tell me a little bit about, again, let's go back to the Florida Cattlemen's Sweetheart. Mm-hmm. And what is your biggest learning experience and your most enjoyable part this year?
Absolutely. So being in this position has been really fun. Thinking back to June when I was in the contest, and I've said this so many times, I really never thought that I would be crowned the Sweetheart. And so to be able to be in this position this year and serve is just kind of surreal. So it's really neat to be here and just to be in this position and be given this opportunity to serve and promote. So I'm really enjoying it. The biggest learning experience, I was talking to my family earlier, but just learning how to talk to different demographics, talking to the producers that I'm representing and then to the consumers that I'm promoting to, they're different people. They have different knowledge and different mindsets. And so just kind of pivoting back and forth, and then just random, not random, but just typical people that want to know what I'm doing, and just being able to, I guess, have an elevator speech, just accurately give off a few top 5 or whatever of why I'm promoting and what I am promoting as the FCA Sweetheart. So that's probably been my biggest learning experience, is just learning to communicate to the different demographics. And the most enjoyable part is definitely getting to interact with those people. And then one event specifically that I can say has probably been the highlight of my year as FCA Sweetheart is getting to go down to Collier County in March of this year. I got to go down to the Ag Ventures event that Farm Bureau partners with and puts on. Ag Ventures is an event for elementary schoolers to come and learn about Florida agriculture. And so down in Collier County, we had over 400 elementary schoolers come through, and they learned about Florida ag commodities. There was a honeybee station, there was a sugarcane station, and then I was able to be at the beef station. There were so many more, and it was just neat to see Farm Bureau put that on and help promote the Florida agriculture industry. And these kids live down there in Collier County where commodities are so diverse, and they have no idea about them. And so to have the kids learn that just, a few miles away, sugarcane is grown, and there's cow pastures and orange grows and things like that, and they had no idea. And so to teach them what's right in front of them has just been pretty neat to just see eyes opened and mindsets broadened.
Very good. What is the mission that you want to pass along to the next Sweetheart?
Absolutely. So in the contest, there's different girls that run each year, and it's neat to see the group that makes up the contestants and everything. And so for this year's Sweetheart, I really want her to have a passion for agriculture. Obviously, that's what we want, and a passion for the beef industry, but be The main thing that I want the next sweetheart to be big in is to just be authentic for her passion. Get involved. Whether you come from an ag or beef background or not, it really shows through in your attitude towards it and your attitude towards being involved. And getting to know the producers and the consumers alike is really what sets you apart from others. So that's what I hope and pray for the next sweetheart, is that she'd be as authentic and involved as she can.
Authenticity.
Yes.
Very good. Equals a passion. That's it.
Yes.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
For both of you, beef is your business. And what do you think is the important product for consumers to enjoy buying, cooking, or eating?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's a product that they can put their trust in. The process of raising beef, I realize not everybody knows that. They're not out on ranches and they don't live it day in and day out. But speaking of authenticity, it's as authentic as it comes, the process of raising beef. Our farmers and ranchers really take this mission to heart. Yeah. They believe in it wholeheartedly. It's a 24/7 commitment to them. And the same product that you're feeding to your family, they're feeding to their family. Yeah. And so having confidence in the product, I think, is the most important thing that I want the consumer to know is we care about you. And our mission is to make sure that the product that you are getting not just tastes great, but it's nutritious as well, and it's sustainable. And we already know that beef is delicious, right? It's the thing that the consumer, when we do our surveys, they really love the taste of beef, and they recognize its versatility, how many ways that they can use it in their cooking and their meal prep and all of those things. But we also rely on cattle for all the byproducts too. Right. So we really need these. I think back to the information in the medical community back in the 80s, some of the nutrition information where they were telling consumers, there's higher cholesterol in red meat and things. Yeah. And by the way, there was really never any research to back that claim up. But man, how that claim has carried us for all these years, that broken information has just kind of trickled along. And so I think we've worked really hard to share the information, the good information of nutrition, and kind of work through some of those hurdles. But I really, I hope the consumer knows that when they're buying beef, we take it to heart, the job of growing that product for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you touched on the nutritional side and the other things, but you also touched on sustainability, and that's a big thing. And it's a buzzword in the industry today, but that is something that we can really tap into. The three pillars of sustainability is economical, environmental, and then economically, environmentally, socially, economically, and environmentally. Those are the three pillars of sustainability.
We knew we'd get there, right?
Yeah. And so that really ties in what we're looking for in the beef industry. It is economically profitable. And in the environment, we're doing leaps and bounds as farmers and ranchers for the good of the state. And then for the people, obviously, the social aspect of it, just providing food for them. And so that's why it's so important and so vital to our state today.
So let's take the antithesis to that. What is the biggest challenge you see with consumer perception of beef? Whitnie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of along with that, with the sustainability aspect, we, as a producer and promoter of beef, we look at the positive side of things. But most consumers can look on the negative side of things. They may say that a lot of people think that Florida cattle ranching is detrimental to our environment and hurting our waterways and things like that. And they say, and then looking at the social aspect of it, as producers, we want to keep cows keep Florida green. We want to keep the green pastures here in our state. But as more and more people are moving in every day, they want that land to build subdivisions on. And so they look at that as a detriment to the promotion of Florida as a state. So those are kind of two things that I think of when consumers or producers, consumers specifically, can look at as a negative for the Florida beef industry. And so we, as the Florida Cattlemen's Association and other agriculture commodity associations, must be diligent to combat those misconceptions and things like that through promotion and marketing and all of the above.
Deanne?
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback on what she said. The story we have to tell is so incredible. 500 years, and I don't want to repeat what you talked about with President Durden, but we've been raising cattle here for 500 years. This is the birthplace of the cattle industry here in Florida. Most people don't know that. The American cowboy was born here. And so we take that heritage, and, when people ask me, and I'm speaking to groups about sustainability, what is more sustainable than 500 years? I mean, we've proven it. Show me something else. And so we really have something to be proud of. But we don't always have that piece of knowledge known to all of the new people moving here. So I think that's really something that we work hard to celebrate. Some of the new work that has been done with the Cattlemen's Association and the conservation groups and all of those things is really about getting out there in front of people and telling the story. We didn't tell it before, but not because we didn't have something to celebrate, just because people are busy working. And we're not braggers. Agriculture is not a group of braggers. So I think we're doing a better job with that now and just really getting more engaged with some of that.
With that said, what do you think is the outlook on beef and production here in the state of Florida for the next few years?
Well, we know demand is high for beef, which is exciting, right?
Yes.
Highest it's been in 30 years, and so more than 30 years. And of course, I like to attribute that to the work of the beef checkoff as well. And also, I alluded to that nutrition research that never really happened, but we've done it now, and we've seen people eating higher protein diets now and things. So it's become cool again to eat these foods that are building blocks for us. But then I also think about, social media, some of this broken information that's out on social media. Consumers, they don't always know. They're not educated on the topic, and nothing against them, but they're quick to, read this information and take it for fact. And so I think some of those things are concerning for me as well. And then I look at the land use, the development here, are we going to maintain our spaces to raise cattle on? 9 of the top 25 cattle ranches in America are located in Florida. And we want to hold on to that. We know as a cow-calf state, we're really important to cattle production nationwide. And so we want to continue to hold that. But we also count on it for wildlife habitat and our water recharge. That's what fills our aquifer. And so, all of those things factor into what that looks like in Florida. I'm optimistic that we're going to continue to do the work and be out in front and try to hold those spaces. The Rural Family Lands Protection Act is really helping us maintain these green spaces in our state. And so that's been super exciting to do, to see happen. And so we are able to hold on to that. And then we're just going to keep pressing ahead on sharing the good message of beef and keeping beef on supper tables really of our residents.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Miss Deanne said, I am positive, have a positive outlook on the future of Florida beef specifically. I think back, and I know the people that are involved in daily Florida cattle ranching, and they're just some tough cookies, so they're not going to let people take their land away. They're not going to fold and sell their cows. They're the people that are 6-7 generations deep in Florida ranching, and they want that heritage to last. And so, and we can depend on them because we know that they are strong and they want this heritage to last. And more than the heritage is just the industry is vital to our nation and to our state. And so, and they recognize that. And so we can depend on the hands and feet, the people that are actually daily working on their ranches. And so I'm positive from that aspect, but also kind of this trend of people coming back and being more rural. People are wanting to buy land and, start hobby farms, and all the cows in the state make up the population, whether you have a large spread or a small spread. And so the more and more people that are wanting to get back into the rural agricultural lifestyle, we can look to that. And I think that is going to be a trend that's going to rise, as it already has, in the next few years.
I would add something to that too, is a lot of times I think we consumers assume that the beef industry feeds the world on ranches that are 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 head. Yeah. But the truth is we feed the world on ranchers that have 25 head.
Yeah.
That's how we're getting it done. And so everybody has a place in this industry and a purpose. And so if you're new to it and you're jumping in and you're to Whitney's point, you're new to this rural lifestyle and suddenly you've got 10 or 12 or 20 head, man, we need you.
Yeah.
We love you and we appreciate you and we want you to be a part of this, and we have resources to help you in that. And those are some of the people that are really going to make up what carries us moving forward.
Yeah.
And they pay checkoff dollars too, don't
Oh,
they?
they do. That's right.
Yes, absolutely.
What kind of promotions or celebrations do you have planned for the Beef Month, Deanne?
Beef Month's exciting. So the month of May in Florida is Beef Month, and it's also National Beef Month as well. And so we stay busy with a lot of things. Some of the things are happening kind of behind the scenes, and they're not right out in front. Remember, I told you we're a staff of one. And so I'm running pretty hard for most of the month. But we are going to kick off Beef Month this year with a couple of things. We're doing something new with the American Pie Championships, which sounds kind of, I know, it's kind of crazy. But it happens in Orlando every year. And so we're sponsoring a savory pie category. And so we're doing a lot. And they are having record numbers of entries for this new savory pie category.
How about it?
I would have never guessed this one. No.
I know,
Yeah.
right? But doesn't it sound delicious?
Yeah.
So we're going to get a delicious start with that. That'll kick off the first of the month. And then we'll be at the Collegiate Strength and Conditioning Coaches Conference as well. We utilize a sports nutrition program called Build Your Base, and you can visit that at buildyourbase.org, and it is awesome. It is a free program provided by beef farmers and ranchers that are really helping athletes of all ages how to better be prepared pre-game, during game, post-game, meal prep, all of those things. And so we'll be with that. And that program is utilized by a lot of Division I and Division II athletes. We've got it in high schools. We have it, the U.S. Olympic athletes on the track and field division are using this. So excited about that. We'll be out with those folks as well. And then our annual ranch tour event, we're going to do that a little bit early. We're kicking that off next week. We normally do that. For Beef Month, we'll have our digital campaigns getting going as well, retail campaigns. We have a ton of things that are going to happen next month.
You're going to be busy, that's
We
for
are.
sure.
That's right.
Whitney, do y'all have anything?
Yes. So primarily in my position as Florida Cattlemen's Association Sweetheart, a lot of my outreach, if I'm not at an event, a lot of my outreach is either through the magazine, monthly, or through social media. And so there's a lot of content that we have planned going out on social media, just a beef promotion, some recipes, rancher highlights, things like that. Kind of all the above, all encompassing of the Florida beef and promoting it for Beef Month.
Two very, very busy ladies, that's for sure. Do you have any other thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners? Deanne, we'll start with you.
Sure. I have a couple of thoughts, I'll say. Three. Make that three. I have three thoughts. First, I'm going to say that I tell people all the time, I think I'm the luckiest working woman in the world. Because I truly am blessed to wake up every day excited to go to work. It's never, ever been a drag. It doesn't mean I'm not tired, but it's never been something I didn't look forward to because I believe in it and I love it. And I'm so committed to it that I consider myself so blessed to love what I do. Not everybody is so lucky. Two, I'll tell you that, for cattle producers that are listening to this podcast, I want them to know that the Beef Council works so hard on your behalf. I mean, a lot of hours. And I don't say that for a pat on the back. I just want you to know that we take your investment of that beef checkoff dollar, and in 2019, they said every dollar translated to a $12 return on investment. And I'd be willing to bet money that we're higher than that now. But I want it to be higher than that, particularly in the state of Florida. So we seek out every way possible to keep your product in front of the consumer and to tell the story of the great work that you do. It is such a privilege to me to be their voice out there. And the third thing I would say, and I think I can speak for Whitney when I say this, we're passionate about the beef industry. That's just kind of our part of the village of agriculture. But agriculture is a village, and we're in this together. And so the same intensity and passion we have for the beef industry, we have for every other commodity.
That's right.
Across our state, whether it's citrus or it's strawberries or tomatoes or dairy or any of the other, 300 I'm missing. I am your advocate all of the time. I wear a hat for you because we are together. And, they tell us all the time the greatest blessing we have, right, is our children, our young people. And I couldn't agree with that more. I'm a mama of 3, and that's been my greatest gift in life. But the second greatest blessing we have, I think, is agriculture. And so I want to always be a good friend to the industry. And so I think we do that. We wear that hat wherever we go. And that's a privilege.
Yeah. And it's very well said and very much appreciated. Whitnie?
Yes. I just want to leave with gratitude. I'm grateful for the industry and what it's done for me. And the story that I told today is the same for so many others. Just like you were saying, just the passion that we have for it is due to the fact of what it's done for us. And we are thankful to the Lord for agriculture, for what He's given to us. And so I just leave with a heart of gratitude and just thankful that I get to play a small role in it. And I want the story that I tell to be an inspiration to others, to follow suit, get involved, and do what you can, give where you can, serve, and just be authentic. So, yes.
Amen. Well, thank you both for your advocacy. Thank you for your education to the public, as also well to our producers. But thank you for being with us today. We appreciate you. And you're going to be extremely busy in the month of May. It is Beef Month. And thank y'all so much for all that you do. We love you and appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you for supporting the Rural Recharge podcast. We hope that you're enjoying these conversations brought to you by farmers for our neighbors. While you're here, please consider giving us a rating or review. It really helps us to continue to share the story of our Florida farm families and their important impact on our local communities. Thank you.